What happens when you combine the most innovative, eccentric, and charismatic leaders, disruptors, and founders from tech, with the pedigree and history of one of the most established institutions within the City of London? The Searching for Mana podcast will be produced in partnership with the London Stock Exchange. I'm Lloyd Warhead, the host of Searching for Mana. We're going to be interviewing some of the leaders, influencers, and disruptors in the tech space, where I'm going to be trying to dig in and find out what's their mana, their superpower, their magic.
Welcome to another episode of Searching for Mana. Today, Sachin and I are delighted to be joined by Piotrz, founder and CEO of Uncapped. Piotrz, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Pleasure. Piotrz, I'd like to begin by talking through some of your journey to founding Uncapped. You spent some years as a VC investor yourself, having been at Google for several years before that. How did those experiences shape your vision for Uncapped?
I think my days in a VC fund were very eye-opening. You know, as a VC investor, you are able to invest maybe in 1 out of 1,000 companies you meet. You have so many of these meetings, and if you're lucky, you do 1-2 investments a year. And I'm optimist in nature, and throughout the year, I would meet loads of companies I liked. And I thought, hey, this is a good business. This is a good company. They need money, but gosh, they will not be the unicorn. But it's a good business, and they cannot get a VC funding. And I thought, oh my God, like it's there should be a better way for them to finance their growth. And this, made me think, probably that market is much, much bigger than equity market in this space. And no one is servicing these customers. They cannot get a bank loan. They cannot get a VC funding. How are they going to grow, even if they're like profitable? And, this allowed me to a few years later to start the company, which became Uncapped today.
Fantastic. And was there anybody or prior, or maybe there now is, was there anybody doing something similar to this, or did you really feel like this was a genuine USP?
There was a company called Clearco in Canada. They were not offering their services in Europe, but they did launch this business in Canada and US, and they were the original inspiration for the idea. And once I heard about them, I was already thinking about this idea for quite some time, and I heard about them, and then I realized, oh my God, someone will do it in Europe very, very soon. And it's one of these like now or never type of moments when I spent, I think, 2 or 3 months thinking about this idea every single night. And I was, I had a very good, cushy job. And my thinking was, gosh, if I don't do that in 3 years' time, I'll be reading in TechCrunch about someone else doing that and regretting that it's not me. And that's when I decided to, leave my job and start a company.
That's actually what I was going to ask. Was there a set moment in time where you're like, right, now I've got to do this, otherwise I'm never going to do it? Or was it just more like a gradual, this needs to happen soon?
It was, just combination of a few moments. So the fund I was working with had some internal challenges. The 2 partners were fighting. And I realized this fund will not go anywhere. And I thought, okay, I probably should be looking for a new job. But I didn't really want another VC job. I was like, gosh, I've been in a few funds. This is such a tough business. If you are not Accel or Sequoia, it's very hard to make money because all the best founders, they want money just from them. And, and then this idea of Clearco of Europe came around, and I just thought, okay, now is the time.
And did you find that it was, once you launched the business and you'd gone live, it was an immediate, there was just momentum building immediately, or did it take some time for things to really gather pace?
It always came in like step changes and like these weird moments. So the first thing I did was I built a pitch deck, and I came with this, VC pitching to VCs, very awkward, very strange. And suddenly like I had to pitch to all my friends, and I was so scared, suddenly like I know how difficult it is to be on the other side, because I was, the one grilling the founders usually. And I felt, fear of embarrassment. I felt the fear that they will feel like I'm not good anymore. And how do I pitch to my friends, and fear of rejection. But I went to my closest friend who was a VC, and he gave me so much encouragement. with the first 10 minutes of a meeting, he said, okay, I'm in for 250,000. And now I'll help you, redraft the pitch deck because I think you can improve a story, improve that. So I was like, this gave me a huge boost of confidence. And then I started to pitch more VCs and I heard no 80 times. So thank God there was this one yes, which, I knew at least some people would believe in me and this idea. And I think I managed to get a few term sheets eventually, and we closed the round. And when the hard work started, we very quickly got to the first 2 clients, and very soon after a few more. And when the COVID started, and initially, Sequoia, all the VCs wrote these letters. This is the end of the world, fire everyone, preserve your runway. This is the disaster like 1920, in US.
Yeah.
But I was like, I can't fire people because there will be nothing else to come back to anyway. So I decided to try fundraise. And, there was one crazy fund crazy enough to believe in us. And it was very, very difficult. We only had 1 term sheet. We managed to negotiate it. They invested. But COVID turned out to be a beautiful moment for us. The e-commerce grew. And I remember we closed the round in August, and end of September, beginning of October, it was a big round, over £4 million. I came to my investors asking, guys, I need more money. Like, we're growing super fast. I grew probably 5x in last 2 months alone. Like what? Like, I need more money. They're like, are you serious? Yeah. And like the next round was we raised around in like 2 months. And then, there was a lot of story further on, more trouble, etc. But that's another story.
I think the story of several meetings, several pitch decks, and unfortunately several rejections is one that is probably very well known to many founders. But obviously you did successfully close a round in what seems like record time. When VCs were pushing back, what was the main point of contention? Was it a lot of education process from your perspective to say, actually, this is not replacing VC model as a model?
I think a lot of that came even from my own misunderstanding of our target market. When I was pitching this, I was ex-VC, so I focused a lot on VC-backed companies and us replacing VCs. It turned out we are not about replacing VCs. Like, we don't compete with VCs. What really is happening is our clients are companies who are usually bootstrapped, profitable, are, these e-commerce businesses around the world, are sellers around the world. And people were like questioning, how many businesses within our target segment are there? The truth is, there are millions of them. There are millions of, there are like, 3-4 million Amazon sellers alone. There are like 2 million companies selling on Shopify. There are so million brands, retailers. And you know what? Every single one of them needs working capital. Every single one of them, The concerns everyone had was, how you're going to do the risk. Well, frankly, this is a solvable problem, like if you have enough smart people at some point, you can figure out how to do the risk. It's a tough problem, but it's a solvable problem. Another question everyone had was like, what happens when the companies outgrow you? Well, it happens, but you also grow as a business. My first clients took 15,000 from us. Now people are taking millions as a single client. So I think a lot of the VCs I spoke with, when I look back, they were expecting finished product, and they didn't understand, the journey that the company has to go through to get where they are.
A lot of sense. Companies who go out and actively try to raise money are very often not just looking just for the capital, but they're looking for the advisory side that venture can bring to it, right? The investors can bring to it, whether they take a board seat or not. And so, given your personal background, and obviously it is unique, but I'm sure prospective customers all going to go on LinkedIn, look at your background and see that you have spent a lot of time in venture yourself as an investor. You're an angel investor as well. Do you get a lot of the questions coming in of people asking you to help formulate additional growth, or like your advice beyond just the working capital? Do you get the advisory piece being asked to you as well?
The funny thing is, with small clients, we just have too many of them, so I don't speak with them.
Yeah.
And our largest customers are so good, so professional, like our largest customers have, often over 100 million in annual revenue. They're so professional. They want advice from people who are even bigger specialists than I am. You know, if they are e-commerce brand, if they are resell, if they're like, you know, retailer, etc., they don't want advice from someone who is effectively a funder, a bank, alternative investor. They want the advice from other people in their industry. So what we provide them is extremely strong relationship and being a partner. What they really want from me is a good understanding of their business and knowing that I'll be supporting them when it's required. So I invest in the personal relationships with them, but it's not about advice.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it's totally dependent on this kind of stage and scale of the business itself. From my understanding, you moved away from the sort of capital deployment of, I think originally it was £10,000, and now the minimum check size is almost 100. Kind of what formulated that line of thinking? Was it the fact that it's just the volume play between 10 and 100?
Listen, at the end of the day, if I give a client $1 million loan, I need 100 customers of, who take 10,000 to make it the same amount. And I probably will make more money from this 1 million customer anyway, because it's much cheaper to serve, they are less risky, and I will charge this customer much less.
Yeah.
But it's much easier to manage one relationship and 100 relationships, because this 100 clients, they will default. Some of them I need to have all the legal stuff. It's a mess. It's a nightmare.
Yeah.
So it just didn't make sense. It just was too hard for us to make them work, and that's why we made this decision to move really up market and focus on these larger businesses. And it worked very, very well for us. We can give them much more attention. We can serve them better. And focusing on larger clients was a pivotal moment for our business.
And then now, what does the business look like now, Piotr? Like which markets are you have you heavily focused on? Kind of what does that, is there plans into going to next year to kind of grow that?
Historically, we are UK based company, and historically UK was always the strongest market for us. But recently, this year has been a year of growth in America. And US is by far the fastest growing market for us. We are doing extremely well there. And I still think, we can do way, way, way more when it comes to the growth there. And we are doing well in Germany. We are present in Netherlands. We're present in Spain, present in Poland. But UK and US is by far the biggest focus of ours, than UK and Germany.
Have you found the US customer base? Obviously, there are a few of your competitors who are US based. Like, how do you find that story when they kind of realize you're UK based versus going to a US business? Does it even come up in conversation at all?
We have a US based sales team. So, we serve our customers from the United States, and we try to make it invisible for our US clients that we are a European based company. We're not ashamed of this. We just think that, you have to try to blend in and be as local as possible when you are in the US. So for us, what really unlocked our growth was opening an office in Atlanta and having local people there with a lot of experience. And only thanks to them, we managed to grow as well as we did.
Fascinating stuff, Piotr. And yeah, the US growth especially, very, very interesting. I'd like to turn back to talking more about Uncapped as a business. So I'm always interested to find out from founders and from thought leaders in the space, when looking at their own business, what specific characteristics they look for when they're hiring for their own team. So we'll speak shortly about your own mana and about your own characteristics. What do you look for in your own team above and beyond obviously their technical expertise or their background?
Great question. The teams are often a reflection of the founders. That's what I'm realizing. And I realized that what I'm looking for the people is sometimes people who will be, it's probably a mistake, by the way, I'm making, but having some elements of myself in them. So I'm looking for people who are, first of all, passionate about something. So I don't have to be passionate about us, at the end of the day. Not everyone, at least initially, is so passionate about the landing. But I like people who are passionate about something, people who are smart and curious and are good problem solvers. I think at the end of the day, building a startup is solving different problem every day and when I'm interviewing people, I'm looking for hints that they are good at that.
And not to obviously give away elements of your interview process in case there's people listening who might be future applicants, but are there specific things that you do test for, or questions that you ask that maybe suggest some of those characteristics?
I can give you some questions, because I don't think they're secret, but
You never know.
yeah, but there are some basic questions which reveal so much about the people. Like, you ask people about what are they most proud of. It's a very simple question, but people will have so many different answers, and what they're proud of is, like, sometimes people answer, I'm proud of my family. I have 2 kids, and this is what I'm proud of. I already know, okay, it reveals so much about them. I know, how they proud that family is super important for them, work probably is secondary, etc. Someone else will say, hey, I delivered this and this project, and you can dig deeper why, etc. And you understand, like, because you understand the level of their accomplishments. This tells what they managed to do it work. Because this is literally the ceiling of what they did in their life. So I love this question. Like, I love to ask about their biggest failure. The answer, for example, I hate the most is like, oh, I never made a mistake, or like, I don't think I made a huge mistake. And because then I'm thinking, are they self-aware enough? Everyone makes mistakes. And what I really am looking for in people is, first of all, this awareness, and second of all, being confident enough to talk about them. Like, if people ask me about my mistakes, I made so many of them. I lost tens of millions of pounds. I made bad hires. I probably still am average manager at many moments. People mistakes, hiring mistakes, business mistakes, so many of them. And being able to talk to them about them is so important, and is so revealing. So I have a few more which I love to ask.
Love those. I think you're completely right. I think it can show a couple of things if they answer in the way that you said. Either, like you say, a lack of awareness, or it can show that they haven't taken any real risks and haven't really been, if they haven't made a big mistake, and they're at the stage of their career they're at. And like you say, it's more likely a lack of awareness. The curiosity point is, with our previous guest last week, that was a major thing that he raised as a real strong characteristic that he likes in his team and the people he works with, is that just purely and simply being curious, just generally in life, and not just your career. So interesting that there's some commonalities there. We'd like to finish, Piotrz, with going through what we call our mana round. And this is a quick fire 5 or 6 questions which we ask everybody to try and see if there are some certain trends in what they're saying. You can be as brief, or you can elaborate as much as you like. And ultimately then we're looking to try and find what your mana is, your magic, your superpower. So I'm going to dive straight in. So if you were to appear on the front cover of one of your preferred publications, whether it's The Economist, it might be the FT, it could be something else, what would be the message? What would be the headline on that publication?
I don't think I would appear on one, and I'll tell you why. I did that once. It was a smaller publication, but it was like, equivalent of like Forbes in Poland, my home country. And gosh, it was so nice for a month or two to be on the front cover with this like wonder boy, of a startup ecosystem. And then my company had some real problem. We almost went bankrupt. I had to make difficult decisions. I fired a lot of people. I felt like a failure. And having this cover put so much pressure on me. I felt like, oh my God, now people will be like the nature of the people is like, once you are on the top, people like to,
You're there to be shot at.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's a Max Verstappen who I love, and like people like love to take a stab at him. And I was like, gosh, people will love to talk about me behind my back. And oh my God, he was so cocky, he was on the cover. I don't think I ever want to do that. I really like, I'd like to be in more in the quiet, if possible. Like, we do a lot of PR, and I'm active on social media like LinkedIn, etc. And I think I want to do more. But this is to attract the customers and spread the know-how, about the business, but I don't care about the awards. I don't care about the covers in this angle at all.
Do you think there might be a point further down the line when everything's maybe a few years down the road, maybe more established, and you're in a position where maybe you take that leadership, that front of house type of position again without the fear of it kind of all going wrong? Or do you think actually you had your fingers burnt somewhat previously, so now you're kind of you're sworn off?
I never say never, but I hope in my life I'll be able to give back much more to the community. I don't think I want to run this company for many more years to come, but I really hope that at some point I can maybe help founders or people in general in much more ways, maybe go to politics, maybe start some foundation. I think at that time it will not be about the company or companies, it will be about doing something good, or maybe like trying to support some worthy ideas.
What keeps you up at night?
Building a business nowadays is very, very difficult. So our company is doing very well. We've probably will be profitable for a full year, which is amazing. We grew a lot, but building a startup nowadays is this huge fight between the growth and the profitability. And you think, okay, should I raise money and maybe grow faster, or maybe should I do it more organically? And to be honest, this is my biggest question is like what the next year will bring, like and how much should I push accelerate the business versus how much I should be more conservative and try to protect it. And I think I don't have a good visibility on this. So if I would say one thing is this trade-off between the growth and the unit economics, which is my biggest concern in my mind. And then even if I want to grow, how do I do that? And second thing is, am I a good leader for the company at scale? Like, I'm a first-time founder. We are almost 100 people today, and this is manageable. But if we're growing further, if I'm gonna, I grew 4x this year. If I keep growing and growing, can I run the company of 200-300 people? I don't know. Do I think about maybe someone else to replace me? Maybe be on top of me, next to me. I don't know.
What habit or mantra or behavior sets you up for your day?
I love to start my day with a workout. So I have a personal trainer, and I usually love to start my day with a workout at 7:30 a.m. So I'm also a huge coffee snob. So usually it's like a coffee around 6:45 with a light breakfast, and then workout at 7:30. I'm in the office by 8:45, and I feel refreshed, done, and full of energy to start the day.
I think once you get into that habit of training early and getting the endorphins going, you really then start, as you say, when you're sitting at the desk, you just feel so pumped, don't you? It's just about getting in there and doing it. So yeah, incredible.
It's also great to do it in the morning because no one disrupts you. Like, when I try to work out later in the evening, like you have all these messages on Slack, emails, and in the morning, like I still have my phone in case, but like I can work out without any interruptions, which is beautiful.
Is there a passage in a book, or again another mantra that generally keeps you motivated, or one that's maybe specifically resonated in your career to date?
Have you seen this quote called "Man in the Arena"?
I haven't.
I don't want to misquote it, but basically the quote is about that you shouldn't judge someone. It's about not judging people who are doing something to change things. Like, if you are the man who had enough courage to step up and be in the ring, you should never judge them because they are the ones who took the risk, and even if they failed, at least they did that. It's a beautiful quote. I highly recommend for every founder, entrepreneur to read. I think they will feel it very closely.
Well, I think you've definitely summed up the tone there. We'll dig out the full quote and put it in the show notes so people can read it. Who would you recommend to come on the show?
I recommend on the show, founder wise. I think
anyone, yeah.
There's a founder I love and I invested. He's a founder of Attio. I don't know if you know Attio.
Yep.
So Nick is a founder of Attio, Nick Sharp. He was also a VC, and he's a friend, and I was always so impressed by him. He did a big pivot. He started the company by, he was ex-VC, and he started a CRM for VCs really, and then pivoted it to the global CRM for everyone. Amazing story, amazing investors, amazing product. I think he's one of the smartest people I know, and he's a London-based founder. So I would highly encourage you to invite him.
Fantastic. Well, that's definitely next on our list, and we'll mention that glowing reference you've given as well. And then finally, what's your mana? What would you say your mana, your superpower, your magic is?
I think it's optimism and energy. I work with a lot of founders. I know my partner, my fiance, she's also a founder. I'm helping her a lot. She's, business is in the fashion industry, and fashion is going through a very tumultuous times. If you see what's happening with Farfetch, Yoox, and Porter, LVMH, every single brand around the world is struggling. And so, of course, she is as well. I'm trying to help her. And I spend a lot of time with her company. And I think having this energy and resourcefulness is probably the one thing that is a game changer for me and for the founders I work with.
Do you find that it's, as obviously the leader in your business, it's obviously very crucial to always provide that optimistic stance on things, even though obviously there's obviously elements of realism in there, but to keep things optimistic? And do you feel it almost reassures yourself as well to keep that positivity and optimism?
Yeah, and it's not only optimism, but it's also looking forward new things. So many times I'm basically pushing the company. You have to basically, I think my biggest skill is to push the company to the limit where they don't know they exist, and remove the roadblocks. We're very behind one of the targets this quarter on the product side, and I think my great skill was suddenly to remove 80% of the work and just cut it and go straight to the results very, very fast. I was able to take the risks, and it was very, very successful. I think I'm resourceful in a way. I can see opportunities where others see the obstacles, and basically we see some other people in the company, oh my god, this industry is tough, we're struggling with that. I'm like, oh, because of that, we can actually launch a new product specifically for this industry because it's tough, because we can figure out this problem. And I think, this helped me start this company and get it to where it is today.
Fantastic. I think, what a great place to finish. And I think that's one of the most key manas that I think founders and leaders in the space need to have. So fantastic place to finish there. Well, before we do, Piotrz, is there anything else that you'd like to, I don't know, maybe plug or talk about in terms of what's coming up for Uncapped?
Yeah, watch this space. A lot of new exciting stuff. I think we're growing, we're hiring. So if you're looking for a job in a cool fintech in Europe, please hit us up. And if you're a startup looking for working capital, also we are the best place to get it.
I'm definitely convinced. Thanks very much, Piotrz. Pleasure.
Thank you.
It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of a high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Future of Work podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please leave a like and a review and subscribe to our iTunes channel to stay up to date with the newest content. Find us on social media at Searching for Mana. Tell us who you want next on the show. Thanks again, and see you next time.